As it relates to docket 2022-279-506-FC, count 1, terrorism causing death. Sentence of the court is that defendant shall serve life without the possibility of parole, credit for 8 days served. Counts 2.
Well, it looks like we have at least a tidbit of good news today. The sick little demon child, Ethan Crumbley, has been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Now, while this is good news and it's something to kind of be happy about, it's still a sad day. You know, listening to the victims and the victims' families speak in court today, it was very emotional. We will listen to some of that in just a moment. But first, I know some of you may be wondering who Ethan Crumbley even is. Well, you have to look it up. I really don't want to dive into the details in this video, but you can go look on my channel. I did cover this story when it first happened. And I can tell you right now, there were a lot of crazy, sick details when it came to Ethan. He was a messed up kid for sure. And his parents were messed up as well. I'm sure some of you, even if you don't remember Ethan, you may remember the Crumbleys. Yeah, the Crumbleys, the good old American family that raised a psycho killer and then tried to make a run for it. They tried to escape to Canada, but they got caught along the way. It was a crazy story, an all-around tragic situation that could have been prevented. Like, we hear about these tragic things that happen at schools in America all the time. Sometimes the signs and the warnings are there. Sometimes it's a kid that you would never expect. But when it came to Ethan, Ethan showed all of the signs. Ethan was showing that he was mentally disturbed. His parents knew. Not only did his parents know that Ethan was disturbed and messed up, they purchased him a firearm, knowing that he was dealing with mental health issues, hearing voices in his head. They decided, hey, let's buy this kid a gun. Nothing could go wrong. And then when they heard that there was let's just call it a tragic event at the local school, they already knew it was their kid. And instead of going down to the school, going to possibly try to help the situation in any way, these people ran. These people hightailed it. They hightailed it because they knew that they were somewhat guilty as well. Now, we'll get into a little bit more about that in just a moment. But first, I want you all to hear some of what these victims and the victims' families had to say today. I can tell you right now, it's sad, it's emotional. But I believe their stories need to be heard because when it comes to cases like this, we always focus on the killer. We learn so much about the killer. We hear what the killer has to say. We hear about the killer's motives. We read the killer's writings. You know, we dive into all of that, but we never really hear what the victims or the victims' families have to say. I mean, we do, but we don't focus on that as much. So today I want to focus on that. I want to play these clips really quickly, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
On November 30th, 2021, is a day that has forever changed my life. It burns into my body like a cigarette burn. Enough to scar, but always a constant reminder. The day I found out that my daughter's life was taken. A life that was still so young and full of life. After that day, she became a statistic, a victim, a planned act of tragedy. To the waste that took my daughter's life, that name will never come out of my mouth. That life will cease to exist to me, and just like trash, it will be forgotten. So while the attention that he has been seeking for this horrendous crime, you will get no reaction from me. But again, this is the life he chose. If he really wanted to make a different outcome, he wouldn't continue to make the excuses he does now. The suffering will come when he least expects it. The regret will consume you as you sit alone with the only voices in your head. Guilt would eat away at your soul. This might not happen tomorrow, next year, or 10 years, but it will happen. As you get older, you will realize the path you've chosen, and it will haunt you.
As I laid on the floor, I attempted to get up, but my legs weren't moving. I repeatedly hit my legs with my hands like this, in an attempt to regain any kind of feeling, but not a single thing. I then somehow tried to do a push-up to somehow drag my body to a safe place where I could get some help. But with the weight of my Carhartt jacket and my backpack full of laptops and textbooks, I was unable to do so. It was so painful. I let myself drop back down onto the floor, where I felt warmth on my face. Warmth from blood soaking into the carpet. I remember hearing a squish sound against my right ear, and it was the sound of carpet mixed with blood going into my ear. I started yelling for help, but when I say yelling, I mean a shout that was loud enough for someone around me to hear, yet quiet enough for the shooter not to hear me. No one ever came, but I did hear something. I reached my hand over my head, and I realized it was Hannah. I could hear her groaning beside me. Realizing that I wasn't alone, I kept trying to reassure her. Someone will come help us. Don't worry. Just keep breathing and just please stay with me. I said that to her 1,000 times. At one point, a SWAT team member came running past us. He was the first person I had seen. I pleaded to him, please help us. He did a double take and said, someone will come back for you. Hannah and I were left in utter loneliness. And I thought I was dying. I kept repeating my mom's phone number to make sure my brain was functioning. I was creating math problems in my head and solving them to make sure I wasn't dying. I continued to yell for help. 15 minutes of laying there absolutely helpless. 15 minutes of lying in a pool of my own blood. 15 minutes of hearing Hannah St. Juliana's last sounds while stroking her hair and trying to encourage her.
So like I said, folks, it's an all-around tragic, sad, depressing situation. And my heart and my prayers go out to everyone who was affected by this situation. But, you know, Ethan's fate has been sealed. I hope that it provides somewhat of a comfort to some of the families involved. I hope that this provides some type of closure in whatever way that it can. Justice was somewhat served, but you know, when you hear justice is served when it comes to a case like this, is justice ever really served? Sure, Ethan's going to be gone behind bars for the rest of his life, but other people lost their lives. And when you think of other people losing their lives, you can't, especially when they're this young, you can't just think about them losing their lives. You have to think about the lives that were affected by this. I'm sure there are family members who are alive today, family members of these victims, who feel like they lost their life as well, because their life will never be the same. They will never be able to be happy. But you know, this case really was very interesting because it was the first time. We see these crazy events happen at schools across America all the time, but it was the first time that parents got arrested as well. We see these lunatics do things in schools, but we never see the parents held accountable. Sure, we have people talk about the parenting, and things like that. It's a conversation that's had, but we've never seen a parent arrested because their kid did something crazy, right? Well, this changes everything. And while I said Ethan's fate has been sealed, we're still waiting to find out what happens to Ethan's parents. Now, Ethan's mom was in court recently arguing that certain details should be left out of her case. Details about Ethan killing birds. Yeah. Ethan, like many killers, used to harm and torture animals. He slept with a dead bird's severed head under his bed, under his pillow at night. He even would bring these dead birds to school. His mother is fighting in court right now, saying that she doesn't want details about Ethan's little fascination with killing and torturing animals brought into her case because it would make her look bad. But guess what? You already look bad. And yeah, if your child is recording videos of himself killing birds, sleeping with dead birds under his pillow, and things of that nature, and you knew he was dealing with these demons and you did nothing, well, you did do something. You went and bought him a gun. Then yeah, you deserve to be behind bars. At this point, I think the honorable thing to do for the Crumbleys would just give up on life. You have failed. Life has nothing left to offer you, and you have nothing at all to offer the world. You failed your kid. You failed yourself. You failed at life. Take whatever they hit you with and silently disappear into the abyss. You're sitting here clawing, fighting tooth and nail for your freedom, but look at what your child did. And I'm not saying that everything someone's kid does, that every parent should be held responsible for anything their kid does. But if you know about this situation, then you know that they enabled this kid. They didn't get the kid the help that he needed, knowing that he needed help. And then went even one step further and made it easy for this kid to do what he did. Let's just put it that way. So seeing his mother fight in court over, these dead bird videos and stuff like that, it's disgusting to me. Just take it. Take whatever they throw at you and shut up and rot for all I care. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, at least we know that Ethan will never be out on the streets to harm anyone ever again. I hope the families that are involved, I hope they got some type of closure. But for now, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you're feeling generous and you want to support the channel, you can do so directly via CashApp, or you can support the channel via Super Thanks, or for free, you can help the channel in many ways. Sharing this video, liking the video, commenting, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell all helps the channel. But with that being said, I will talk to you all soon in the next video.